Maybe. And we are live because you never know when it's going to happen. It's summer, folks. I hope you're having a good time. Welcome back. Your world champion Chiefs are kind of on tour right now. I've seen some images, some places like Cannes. We're going to talk about what's going on and what's the next step as we get to all of your questions tonight. It is Q&A Monday night, so it is your show. Make sure that if you want on the show, leave a super chat. Throw your questions in there. We'll try to get to as many as we can. There's a lot of regulars in here tonight already. We very much appreciate you. I'm Ryan Tracy. This is my man, Dan Harms. It's been a week, hasn't it, Dan?
It has been a week for this. Luckily, we got to see each other on Saturday for the first time since, what was it, the holiday season, I believe. So we had a nice evening out, or actually afternoon out with the wives and my daughter, and it was great. It was a great time.
It was super cool. And shout out to our friends over at Smoke and Lee Summit. We appreciate you.
Yes.
Smoke Brewing. Had some beers, had some food. My beer this evening is not one of theirs because I couldn't bring it home on the plane. They don't let me do that. As much as I try, I get in trouble every time. Oh, and there she is. I was going to show you a beer shot, but now that the star's here, everyone, this is our executive producer, Avery. Everybody give her a clap. Hi, Miss Avery. We did have a great time, and it was warm, but we got it all in, and that's what you do in the summertime. You think about football, and you eat ice cream, et cetera, et cetera.
I was about to say that's
and you drink beer.
Sit in and you order a bunch of food. Sit in and order a bunch of food and drink beer.
It's because I can't make decisions, just like this one. Singapore Sling is my beer of the evening, folks. Shout out to our friends at Four Noses up in Broomfield here. This, Dan, is right up your alley. I should have saved you one. Sour, kettle sour, pineapple, and bitters.
Yes, there we go.
Yeah,
it's right up my alley. Like I said, whenever I make the trip out to Colorado, just keep me a couple.
I got you. Nice thing about sours, they'll last. So given where we are in the summer, I feel like it's that time where we all start to get cranked up. If you're new to this channel, make sure you like, sub, hit the bell, because we are year-round, everything going, film, stats, plenty of opinion, whether you agree with me or not. That's okay. Plenty of opinion. And one of our mods is in the house. Gary is here. Nice to see you, buddy. He kind of keeps everything on the straight and narrow around here for us. We appreciate you, my friend. But what's really stood out to me in the last few days, and I was off Twitter for a while, as I was unhooking for a bit, spent some time with family and doing some sports stuff with my kids. It comes to me that we are in not just the golden era of Chiefs football, but of impact of the NFL and this franchise around the world. If you guys didn't see pictures, I can probably pull some up here on the screen, although my screen share is not doing what it's supposed to do right now. So I thought I was going to have that readily available. But Travis Kelce and Justin Reid are out there like representing you, me, and the rest of Chiefs Kingdom to the world. And I think that's strange and it's cool. And if we throw it on there, let me get that in there. These guys are down. Like Justin Reid was at a golf tournament 4 or 5 days before this, and now he's in Cannes in France, the film capital of Europe, right? He and Travis hanging out, and I know Travis is famous on tour and all that stuff, but he's helping. And this is raising the level of not just what I like to think of as a championship team, but in particular, a world champion. And that's what I wanted to ask you about tonight, Dan, because I know how I feel. But that whole concept of world champion, I think, is what's setting the Chiefs apart right now. Because arguably, even when NFL Europe was going, there hasn't been as much worldwide interest in the NFL as there is right now. And the Chiefs are obviously at the pinnacle of what this franchise has been in its first 53 years. Is there a better time to be a Chiefs fan? And do you think that they can continue this role as being like the ambassadors for the league?
I absolutely think that they can, because the growth of not just playing football in other countries, but the watching of football in other countries is growing exponentially over the past probably 5 to 10 years. And right now we are in the most famous football players in the entire world are Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce. Most people know who those two are. And if you don't, most of you now know who Travis Kelce is after getting on stage with Taylor Swift a few nights ago. Everybody knows who he is now. Like, it's just, that's what this is, and they are embracing the global, however you want to say that, the globalness of this day and age in football, and Chiefs football specifically. So not only can they continue this type of, I would say, dominance in terms of global ratings, they can continue to spread football everywhere because they're likable. People want to see them on TV and watch them play football. It's an exciting thing, and two, back-to-back Super Bowls. Like, it's hard to be Tom Brady in that era, right, where he represented football. Tom Brady represented football for a long time, but he got out of it as they really started to go global. And that's when the Chiefs, we've seen their mantle pick up 3 Super Bowls in 5 years. That gets you the notoriety. And now we're seeing like the traveling, and Travis is going everywhere with Taylor, and Patrick has been everywhere. Like, it's a great time to watch the game grow. And pretty soon, it wouldn't shock me to see teams popping up, other maybe different leagues popping up outside of the U.S. like there are obviously in Canada. I think there are a couple in Japan. There's some other European places that do play American football. So there are some leagues, maybe there'll be more popping up.
Yeah, you absolutely could be right. And shout out to you, Jafar, over in Indonesia. 30 years. Wow. That's awesome.
That's awesome.
Appreciate you watching. I'm going to have to check the time slots at what time it is, but appreciate you. And thank you for being with us as well, pal. That is awesome.
That's awesome.
Man.
So cool.
Just as we're talking about the worldwide reach of this fan base, right?
Right.
It's like the perfect time, pal. You could not have done that better. Well done. And just to go along with that, before we get to Steve's question, I do want to show you guys the other thing that I get a big kick out of. This happened a few years ago with our friends at Arrowheads Broad, with Tom and obviously Brad, in being kind of the non-US ambassadors for Chiefs Kingdom. But now you see like little kids. It's not just, hardcore sports fans. It's not these kids' dads that are the only fans of the Chiefs. This is Justin Reid in Germany, opening what they call, Champions House, Haus. I have to remember that because I don't speak German. But this is significant in that it's a bunch of different. You see that's a Frankfurt jersey. Frankfurt had a team in NFL Europe. The Rhine was huge there. You see somebody even got a Spags We Trust shirt. Good for him. But this tells me that it's not, again, more kids there. It's not just the crusty old dudes that have grown tired of European football, the soccer game or whatever, and they're like, oh, I'm gonna adopt an American team too. It's the youth kids, and I think that's what Clark's pushing for, and that's going to continue to see us be more and more invested in what goes on outside of our borders in terms of Chiefs Kingdom. And I'm kind of here for that at this point. I think it's super cool.
Yeah, I love the fact that Justin Reid's the one doing it too, right? Like a lot of people thought maybe he would only be here for this contract, length of this contract, and that was it. But he's truly embraced not just playing for the Chiefs, but the community. He's one of the most recognized, I guess, I would say one of the most recognized players on this team, specifically out wide with all the stuff that he does. Now we're seeing him be like a brand ambassador for the Chiefs in Germany. Like, it's a fantastic thing for him. And he's still quite young. And I expect him to get extended personally because he's been such a really good part and gotten better as he's gotten accustomed playing in Spags defense, seemingly like everybody does, right? Some that first year, maybe not great, but then it's like, okay, now we're getting back into it. Second year, we're getting better. Third year, it's like, oh, okay, we're good. We're good now. So I love seeing that Justin Reid's out there doing the work that he's doing, and love the fact that he was at a golf tournament. And one of the things that you and I will eventually do is play golf together whenever we get good enough that we don't lose 25 balls in a couple of holes.
That's me. You're already there. Don't even start.
No, I lose my entire bag of balls. But lucky for everybody here that's watching, if you guys just listen a little bit here to our newest sponsors of the show, you might have a little bit of intel on how to keep some of those in the bag next time you go golfing. As a golfer for years, I've been hearing PGA pros and PXG say nobody makes golf clubs the way they do, period. And you know what? They're right. I went in for a fitting at PXG Kansas City and saw for myself. from the PXG Black Ops driver, which is a total game changer where you no longer have to sacrifice distance for forgiveness down to a putter. It was a fantastic experience. Every single club we went through was adjusted perfectly to how comfortable I was and how good I was striking it. From grips to length and club stiffness level, the experience was far more than I could have ever anticipated. PXG made a believer out of me. They'll do the same for every golfer in Kansas City. Visit pxg.com/RGR to schedule your fitting at PXG Kansas City at 7517 West 119th Street in Overland Park. Get fitted for any club and you'll get a free dozen golf balls. That's right, free dozen golf balls. I got mine. You can get yours too. That's pxg.com/RGR to schedule your fitting. pxg.com/RGR. Limit 1 dozen golf balls per person. Promotion ends June 30th. Other terms and conditions may apply. See store for details.
And if you go and you have a great time and you are now a golfer, but you don't want those balls, just send them to me because I'm going to need every last one I can get.
Still do. Absolutely still do. Every single time.
Appreciate you guys. But PXG has been great. We both had a great experience. I hope that you guys will check them out as well. Support the folks that supports us, and they're powering us through this lull here before training camp.
Yeah.
So we're getting to training camp here, and that's where Steve's question comes in. Can you tell the difference as players in Cam Jones versus Curtis Jacobs? And I will give you my opinion. Dan, I don't know if you've broken down anything since, but comparing college to college is what I have in my head. Where are you at?
Okay. So I haven't seen much of anything in terms of Curtis Jacobs at all. Like I just haven't seen anything. So I can't speak to that. But when you do watch players in college, you can typically tell the difference between that first year, right? The first year in the NFL. That's where my head's at. Like I'm talking about difference from like what Cam Jones was in Indiana to that week 17 game. Like it felt like he understood the game a bit more. I don't know about you.
No, I completely agree with you. You can see the progress in one season. Now, for the players themselves, again, setting aside what was very limited snaps for Cam Jones, except for special teams. Mm-hmm. Prospect to prospect, a year apart. The things that stand out to me is Jones was a much more instinctive player, both in space and coverage. He would even go out and jump out on some slot receivers. Like he understood spacing and he's comfortable in zone. He can turn and run as well. And he triggers downhill quicker on film in college than Curtis did. Now, Curtis is a good athlete as well, so I do think that that's there. It's about processing in the eyes that I think Cam had the advantage coming out, and certainly having a year in the league, he's got an advantage. But I would right now put Cam Jones as likely the number 4 linebacker on my list. The Chiefs probably have Jack Cochran above him because Jack has experience, and he's gotten some reps on the field. But they're very close. Cam's a better athlete. Curtis is probably a better athlete than Jack as well. But Curtis doesn't have that experience. What I'm wondering is with the new kickoff rules, if we don't continue to talk about all of them through training camp and through the regular season, because I think that the new kickoff might need more linebackers as a whole on the roster rather than defensive backs.
That's fair. I think that we've seen them kind of have tons of defensive backs and just be able to almost pluck guys at will and put them in and be okay. And you kind of need a little bit more, some more linebacker help. Definitely needs some more linebacker help. I'll be honest. Jack Cochran being out there a week against the Packers was not exactly a fun experience for anybody.
I'm with you there. Shout out, Jeremy. Nice to see you, buddy. And nice to see you getting in touch with everybody here. You also had a question. There will no longer be a punter battle at camp. What will you be watching at camp now? Well, now that the punter's over, I just might as well go. I'm
so upset right now. I pumped it up too. I pumped it up. Like I was ready for it.
You were all in on that. I'm like, okay. Now the question becomes who can hold the best. Because, I don't think Arraez has done any holding in his career. So that is a bit of a question mark to me. And I don't know if you want Wentz out there. We'll see. I love the concept of having the quarterback be the holder, but that's me. No. What I'll be watching for is which defensive back jumped somebody. And I don't mean like in a street fight, although that'd probably go a long way. But there are a number of guys that are outside the cut looking in that I do think if they get a wild hair, they could surge up onto the roster. We're going to talk about them in depth as the weeks come here, folks. But like I'm thinking about, I think Haddon's probably on the outside right now. I know Battle is. I think Kelvin Joseph could push for the roster at this point. I worry about some of the guys that I have high hopes for, but we haven't seen materialize yet. And I'll tell you this, the number one thing that I'm going to watch in the defensive back group is Najee Johnson. Because if he can pick up anywhere close to where he finished off, he doesn't have to play the nickel. He can go outside. And I have yet to be convinced that either Joshua Williams nor Jalen Watson is the answer at the outside opposite Trent McDuffie, who in OTAs got mostly outside snaps as we had hoped.
So this is an interesting spot for me because I'm about to do a Kamal Hayden breakdown finally on Wednesday. I've got more than enough tape to watch. I got 3 games, more than enough tape. You know, I got 3 games to watch on him. So we'll be able to get that for you guys. And this is where my head's at because I think you might be able to see one of those 2 guys traded, Joshua Williams or Jalen Watson, especially if Najee Johnson and Kamal Hayden are playing well in camp. You have 2 guys that are experienced and you don't have an actual answer in either one of them. You might be able to get someone else in trade for one of those 2 players who have played NFL snaps and been, I would say, average to above average at times.
Yeah, hey, I'm down with you. I mean, there's a lot of positions that we'll have to watch. Obviously, there's a ton of talent at wide receiver, right? They're making a push that direction. We know who the top 3 are. And when we say top 3, I think we're really concentrating on who are the guys that can be top 3 receivers all the time, not just to start the season. We have to include Rashee Rice, even though we know he's going to face suspension, if not this season, next. We don't know any of that. We will get to that. But you have true guys that can play as a top 2 in Hollywood, in him. I am a little bit on a limb, but I think Xavier Worthy will prove his worth as a rookie. I'm not really scared of that. I know everyone's worried about his weight. It just doesn't bother me. I don't think anything bothers Minotaur, so I'm just going to side with him and go with the flow. Hope you're doing well, Minotaur. It's not something there. So I'm going to be watching all that, and I'll always start and end with the D-line. That's just kind of the way that I roll. Punter battle. Okay, we got that one. So Gary, to you, pal, if the Chiefs release Joe Thuney next year and try to sign Trey Smith, Creed Humphrey, and Nick Bolton, I think they can do that. I think a lot of it is going to ride right now on when Joe gets back. I was a little concerned when they didn't say, hey, we're going to leave Joe out for OTAs. He'll be back for the start of training camp. Because they just said, hey, we expect him back in training camp sometime, maybe the last day.
Yeah.
If Joe has no training camp, they got to hold him out at least a month of the regular season, in my opinion. Because if he's not ready to be in training camp, then I don't want him risking it in a ball game. You know what I mean? Where are you at?
Yeah,
on
for
him?
sure. Well, yeah, I don't think you really want him out there unless he's fully healthy. There's nothing to gain from putting him out there early if you know that he's not fully ready. There's just nothing to gain. You're looking to win another Super Bowl. There's just this. It's a lose situation if you put him out there and he's not ready and he can get more hurt. So yeah, I'm with you. If he's not close, don't even bother with it.
Okay. I'm glad we see eye to eye. We'll see what the Chiefs think. I do want to show you guys the contract here as Gary's talking about. So this is the situation. If Joe decides to retire, you get all his cap space back. There'll still be the cash payout and obviously the prorated guarantee that you can't get out of that. And that's fine. But there's no reason to even consider it now. I've seen people bring it up because you only save $3 million. There's no reason to get rid of that. You do save $16 million if you decide to cut him before the 2025 season. It's not guaranteed. You get a chunk back. And if it's iffy, you could say, hey, let's tear this up. And if you're feeling good, we can bring you back. You know what I mean? I think there's an opportunity there because I don't see following this injury. And if Joe isn't able to play, say, 14 games this coming year, it feels like to me there's not going to be a whole lot of teams beating down his door if that's the way that this scenario goes.
That's fair. And he's getting older too. You don't really know.
Yeah.
Injuries can take anybody. Look what happened to Mitchell Schwartz, who was on, again, the Iron Man snap count. And then all of a sudden, just takes one. It just takes one.
Yeah, I hope your back's better, Mitch.
Yeah, me too.
Gary, thank you as always for the question and for being our mod in charge. Appreciate you, buddy. Clinton, thanks for the support. Appreciate you. And you brought up a great question, one that I've been mulling over quite a bit lately. But I want to start with you, Dan. He's getting worried about the left side in general. Where are you at?
I need to see camp. I need to see camp. I have nothing right now because it's a bit worrying. We don't know if Joe Thuney is going to be ready to go. And I'm still of the opinion that Wanya Morris is not the leader in the clubhouse. But anything can change in camp if you come in and you're ready to go. So you have a lot of inexperience at left tackle, and you have possibly a first-time starter at left guard not named Joe Thuney or Nick Allegretti, because Nick Allegretti is not in Kansas City anymore. So there's a lot of uncertainty there. So I need to see camp before I get too worried about it, because I personally have confidence in Kingsley to come in and play left tackle. But that caveat is with Joe Thuney at his side, because it's inexperience with an experience, then you have a problem.
It multiplies the farther you are away from Creed at that point. I will say this. What I'm rooting for right now is obviously Joe to start, Kingsley on the outside. I think that's the best combination to get experience that builds toward the playoffs, to get playoff wins. That's all I care about. If they win 10 games and have to limp into the playoffs to get there, I don't care. I just want playoff wins. I will say this, though. If that is not the case, I don't want to play around with trying to move Trey. I don't think they'll do that, by the way. I don't want to play around with the rookies. I don't want to try to throw Frank. I don't want to throw any Caliendo into the left guard spot. I'm going to put Wanya in there if it's me. And I'm going to ride with those two guys together. It's not a lot of experience, but it's a little bit. And I do think at guard, you protect Wanya from some of his weaker points. Would you be okay with that, or would you rather them do something else?
No, that's what I would do too. I think that Wanya Morris, again, one of his worst problems is getting to his depth quick enough as tackle. Like, that's one of the big problems, is he can't get there in time. And also he's a little late off the snap sometimes, which doesn't help the problem. And then he opens up to the inside, he gets beat on the outside. But if you're in a phone booth, you have like nothing to worry about in that guard. You can just use your power and use your anchor when you actually are confident in doing so, and sit down. So yeah, I think that's probably his best role.
I'm with you. I'm looking forward to that. Thank you, Clinton. We appreciate your support as always, pal. Great question. Matt, let's get this thing started. With Bugs gone, what position group is in need of an extra body the most? I mean, I think you pretty much nailed it. I'm concerned, but not worried. You know what I mean? Because Noddy had an injury last year. Obviously, Turk wasn't himself coming off of the ACL. This should be the year he returns and maybe even accelerates a little bit. But we got to see it. Mike Pennell's another year older. He played great in the playoffs, but now they signed him early. I want to see him go on to the practice squad myself. Agreed. I'd like to see him elevate him for the Ravens and let him rest the rest of the season myself. But it's been beyond that. I'm putting my money, and if you guys hear Locked On Chiefs today, Chris and I did – it'll be tomorrow, actually. Oh, so I guess I'm previewing this when I'm not supposed to. My guy is Lovett, and you guys know that. So it's not much of a surprise. I do feel like his physical tools will outweigh the fact that he's a rookie and doesn't know what he's doing yet, because I think in the Cullen system, it works for young guys that have the length and the physical abilities that he has. So I got to see some punch there. Bugs hasn't contributed to this roster or any of these wins since he's been in Kansas City, so I don't feel like it's a net loss. But I agree with you. I think an acquisition of some kind could be exactly what they need at the tackle position.
Agreed. And I think they're going to absolutely need Lovett to just actually do something. And the difference between like guys like Coburn that we've liked before is that Fabian's already been flashing in these early rookie camp, mini camps, and all of these things leading up to training camp, which none of the other guys did. And obviously it shows because Coburn's nowhere, not playing. And I think that Lovett, at least in this defense, has an opportunity to be the next guy to take over for what Derek Noddy is. And that's kind of why he's back here on a one-year deal, to maybe help ease that transition. So you're not just throwing somebody out there who was a UDFA and hoping you can get something out of him.
Yeah, I'm totally with you. I didn't realize. I thought he had been picked up, but to be completely out, that's just
No, I don't know if he is or not. I'm just saying, like, he's not going to be starting,
okay, gotcha.
playing, rotating, or anything like that. He's be on practice
True.
squads.
Oh, he did get picked up by Tennessee. He is on their.
Yeah.
He will be on their practice squad. Just for giggles, I tried. I tried to be positive on it because they took the wrong Texan in the draft from what I wanted. I wanted a Jomo, the guy that played next to Coburn, and he seems to be on track still. So I don't know what it was about Coburn. Maybe it was the size. You know, with the Patnell thing and with Naughty having a couple of injuries, and you don't have that much. But in the end, it is what it is, and he's moved on. But I hope that they can get that right. Des, nice to see you, buddy. You're hitting this. Is it the weakest, and is there any free agents available? I mean, that's really the big question. I'm going to double check here, and I'll share this on screen here in a second, just to see what's out there, because last time I looked, it was slimmer than slim pickings.
Yeah, I'm not entirely
And
sure because I'll be honest. Like, there should be somebody out there you can get as a camp body. There just kind of has to be at this point. But we're gonna find out right now.
Yeah. Let's see. The top, according to these guys, Hassan Ridgeway, now 30 years old. I don't want to take much of a role in that. Brian Moan, if the Seahawks didn't want you back in that role,
I don't know who that is.
Right? I've seen a couple of snaps, only because I know a couple scouts up there. But if they don't want you back in a niche role and you're 29 years old, you got nothing to show me. I'm not here for that. Lawrence Guy, Linval Joseph's 87 years old at this point. Al Woods, Carlos. I got nothing here, folks. Tyson Alualu is 37 years old. Good God, I didn't realize that. I did not realize that.
All right, this is even more of a reason that the Chiefs might be trading for another defensive tackle this training camp cycle, unless Neil Farrell just all of a sudden takes a gigantic step.
Right.
Ross Blacklock out of Tennessee, previously from TCU, who I was actually a fan of, did not work out in the NFL. Yeah, there's not much out there.
I like Kyle Phillips. He's been on what, 4 teams?
Yeah, 27, right?
Oh, just 2. Okay, just 2. That's better than I thought. But I mean, he's not an earth mover, you know. Like, I liked Blacklock as well. That's why I was highlighting him. I think we both agreed on that one. But it's just slim pickings out there. I think a trade, you're absolutely right, Dan, is probably the way they would have to go, Des. I would pay very close attention to cut downs is basically the way it's going to go. And it looks like now I'm falling behind. So I'm going to let you take the next question. I'm going to try to fix this.
Okay, let's do that. So I appreciate it, because I was trying to read what Ryan was saying, and I'm just like, I have no idea what's happening right now. I think we may have missed this one, Doug. My apologies. Training camp standouts this season, thoughts? So I think we've got a couple of players to be keeping an eye on. Personally, you're going to want to look at the cornerback position, especially considering there are a couple of spots up for grabs. Najee Johnson, Joshua Williams, Jalen Watson, those guys are the ones that I'm going to be looking for to actually have standout camps. But I also think we've got to look for somebody who's trying to earn a spot. Like, again, back to the competition stuff. Like, so I was kind of excited to watch the punter battle. No pun intended. Like, I mean it. Like, I was excited about that, but that spot's basically been given. So defensive tackle, left tackle. I think we're probably going to see Brian Cook have a pretty good training camp. Chamari Connor is another guy that's probably going to have a good training camp, considering he's also fighting for that. Looks like he's fighting for the slot position, or the nickel position, excuse me. So you've got Xavier Worthy's probably going to have some standout days too. I really do believe he's going to be awesome, and I'm very excited to watch what he does. So those are just a couple of guys I've got thoughts on for training camp standouts. What about you, Ryan?
Standouts. I mean, who can make a push? I see no reason. Maybe you said this while I was trying to reset there. I see no reason to count out Nico Remigio. Sure. Sorry. You know, I mean, if he can do it in OTAs, I don't see why I can't do it in training camp. He didn't training camp last year until the injury. There was a hamstring and there was a shoulder. So unfortunately, in one preseason, he had 2 injuries that bothered me.
Yeah.
I know folks were more concerned about the shoulder. I personally was not, because I think that repair is one of the more straightforward. The shoulder is always a tough joint to correct, but it's lower body for a guy that needs his movement. I got a little bit of a glimpse of some OTA looks at him. And the more I see, the more I feel like there's Albert Wilson lurking underneath that 81 jersey he's wearing now. And Albert surprised me. And so I'm not going to count out Nico Remigio.
I like it. I really hope so, because I again, it was a fan last year. He was making plays everywhere, and I love that kind of storyline too, because he, again, was not expected to do much. But if he can give you something that's maybe one of these other guys that's supposed to give you isn't giving you, you never know.
Yeah, I like performance on cheap. That works for me just fine. Thank you, Doug. And thank you again, Doug.
Appreciate that.
Incoming and LFG. Yeah, I like that. The only problem with that is one day I'm going to say it on this stream, and I'm going to make myself feel bad, and I'm going to make you guys angry at me. But I can't say it without seeing Tom Brady in my head.
That's fair. He does have that very LFG vibe, right? Like, because he said it his entire career. It's just that's Tom Brady. That's what it is.
You put it nicely to me. I have dirty, untrustworthy frat boy in my head for Tom Brady, but that goes along with it, I guess. It's fine.
That's fair.
Thanks, Doug. Appreciate you as always. Steven, thank you. How do you keep our shutdown defense if we go back to a high-flying offense? Is it possible to have both and win a Super Bowl? Yeah, it is definitely possible. And I will not show that screen again because I think that's what screwed up my last one. But cap spending right now, 1/3 of it is on the defense. And that's how you can have a defense that can step back into that. Yes, you lost L'Jarius, arguably one of my favorite players on defense. But you have so much youth and you don't have to spend on them. They can be, and you can keep that high-flying offense that you had to pay for and still have a top-notch defense.
That's exactly why they did this. They knew they were going to have offensive growing pains. They knew it. They had to, especially with the release of, the trading of Tyreek Hill. They knew something was going to change. Space was going to be a little bit more constricted. So they made a conscious decision to get younger and fit on defense. Like, that's what they want. They got guys that fit exactly what Steve Spagnuolo wants, what he and Dave Merritt have really done with that secondary and sculpted everything by hand, basically, to give you what you're doing. And then you also have Cullen doing a fantastic job with the front four and just what they've done. It all makes sense that the plan has worked out. And now 2 years have gone by and Patrick Mahomes has gotten to be the best quarterback in the NFL at the short game, by the way. So he already could go bombs away. And now it's, oh crap, what do we do? That's basically what this is now. They have added 2 other fast guys to their offense, and NFL defenses are screwed at this point, unless things continue to happen with drops and, all the crazy nonsense where people aren't in the same spot. But since MVS isn't on the team anymore, I think it's safe to say that those are going to be corrected in some way, shape, or form. Just a little bit.
I think I have to agree with you. It certainly makes a whole lot of sense to me. Oh, man. I just want dominance. Can I just get dominance? Can I have a Super Bowl where I have no fears? I'd love it.
No, that's never.
How is Pacheco progressing? No, it's not. How is how is somebody progressing? And wait, hold on. Did I just move past a question before we answered it?
I don't know. Did you?
Okay. No, maybe I didn't. Okay. How is Pacheco progressing as a pass blocker after playing with Jet? I wouldn't say I saw a whole lot.
I'll tell you right now, the effort's there.
Yeah.
The effort's there.
Yeah.
And there's at least a couple of good reps out there. The one against Miami really sticks out in my head. I tweeted that out a few weeks ago.
Sure.
But that might be the only really good pass protection rep he's got all season. So it's not great. And the fact that CEH might be a better pass protector than him isn't a good sign. So you're kind of in trouble.
In comes Carson Steele.
I just think the Jets coming back. Like I don't think there's any way outside of that happening. I think that's what's going to happen.
I hope you're right. I just worry with the number giveaway and everything. Like I'm just a little skeptical. I don't know. I hope you're right. Caleb, I believe this roster is much better than last year. Do you? Which part of the roster could each improve with extra cap? Ooh, all of it. Can always get better with cap space. It's like magic.
Always.
Would you say that this roster is much better than last year? That's my question for you.
Much better? I wouldn't go that far. I think it's, if I had to say it was one or the other, I would say it was slightly better. And that's just because I think the offense in general is an overall totality better. And yes, the loss of L'Jarius Sneed hurts, but we've seen Steve Spagnuolo and Dave Merritt be able to make do. And on defense, you're basically just trying to make do so that Chris Jones and everybody else can just cause havoc. Like that's what this is up to, and that's where they've really built this to be. So I would say slightly better. I would not say much better.
I'm going to take the flip side of that coin and say it's slightly worse because of particularly who's going to have to try to fill in for L'Jarius. Honestly, without his play against the Ravens on the goal line, they don't go to the Super Bowl. And that's just something I don't think anyone on this roster except Trent Green has in them.
I would also say
Trent
that the
Green.
play is slightly fluky. Trent. I knew what you meant.
Trent
I knew what you meant. I would also say that play is slightly fluky. It wasn't what he intended to do in my mind. I watched the play a ton. Like it wasn't I'm going to punch this football out. It was more, my hand's there. So with that being said, I still think they win that game, even if they score there. I still think they win.
Yeah.
Okay. But L'Jarius Sneed shut down various number one receivers. Just all of them. Brandon Ayuk was open a few times, but the guy that really hurt them was Juwan Jennings. And I wonder why it was Juwan Jennings of the three receivers on the field. But that's neither here nor there.
Oh, I like this one. Steven, would you trade for Breece Hall? I won't trade for a running back, but if you were going to trade for a running back, I would probably pick one that hasn't had major knee injuries. I do like the way that he runs, but I wouldn't be trading for him myself. Would you, Dan?
I wouldn't, because it's going to cost too much. Like the Jets are going to value him as a first-round player, and they're going to want a first-round pick back. And even a day two pick, I'm not justifying not even just having to trade for him, and then they have to pay him too. So no, thanks, Steven. I appreciate the idea. But no. And I don't really do a ton of these, to be honest with you. I don't do smash burgers, which is my own problem. I need to do more smash burgers. My wife likes them, and I'd like to get better at them. So,
I enjoy.
Why don't you give me the best one?
Yeah. Okay. So this is what I do, and it doesn't matter whether it's jalapenos or pasilla peppers or whatever you like. I like to cut them thin and put them down first, and then I like to go the opposite and go mushrooms and onions on the other. I like to do like a hot Philly burger.
Oh,
so
like
onions,
that.
peppers on one side, 2 patties smashed in. Then you flip them, you cheese them both, put them both on top of that bun, and then you get a double with everything smashed in the middle.
All right, there we go. That's a good one right there. We got it. There
I'm
you
a fat
go,
guy
Steven.
for a reason, man. That's the way that goes. Try that, Steven, though, especially if you like Philly. Although I will say I haven't done the whiz part of that. So I always go provolone because that's what I get on a Philly anyway. But
yeah,
try the whiz and see what you think, dude. Who's going to be the toughest challenge DB room wise for our receivers this season? Do we know how good they are? I don't know that we know. Who's going to be the biggest challenge? I got to look at the schedule again. Do you have a feel?
I'm trying to figure out who exactly they play in terms of the secondaries, but like nothing in division is. I mean, the Broncos have Pat Surtain, so you have that and whoever is going to be playing outside next to him. But they're, unless they play like the Ravens again, which they do, it might be the Ravens. Nate Wiggins is coming in there, but he's still a rookie. I don't have an answer off the top of my head.
Nate Wiggins versus Xavier Worthy. I'll take Worthy.
Yeah, me too. Like, I don't care how fast he is. He's got to play physical to get on top of that. And one thing is, if you miss, buddy, he gone. He gone.
Yeah, I know you're fast, but you ain't that fast. I just want to check our roster here real quick, and I wanted your opinion on it. So it's going to have a couple of guys from the same school. Usually I like that, but I'm not sure if in this case I do. Carlton Davis on one side, Melifonwu at safety, Kirby Joseph at safety, Brian Branch in the nickel, and now Terry Arnold on the other outside corner. The Lions might have maybe the strongest. They do.
I forgot.
Might have the strongest lineup.
For whatever reason, I think you're crazy.
It's August 17. No, it's a preseason game, but that still might be the best secondary they're going to face.
Okay. That makes more sense.
I don't think so.
Yeah, it might just be the Broncos. It's just because they have Pat Surtain. It just might be that easy.
You might have it right. Dang it. I hate it when I do that.
But I think the big thing we need to focus on for wide receivers against corners is how they are going to play against physicality. So you're going to have the Ravens. They're going to play physical with you. You're going to have some other teams that are going to play physical. So maybe it's not so much the DB room that you want to watch. It's the play styles. Because the biggest problems that the Chiefs have had wide receiver wise has been against cornerback rooms that will just press you and that will be physical with you and that will throw off your timing at the top of your route. And that's where we've seen Patrick have to go into either scramble mode or, be able to do that. So look at that and maybe try to judge how much better this team is wide receiver wise than it was the previous 2 years.
I like where you're going. You went the same place I did. So let me ask you what you think of this one. Des King at the nickel, Jimmy Ward at the up safety, Jalen Petrie, Derek Stingley, and then Kamari Lassiter's likely going to start, and you got Jeff Okudah as your fourth corner. Texans might have something rolling.
Yeah, and plus they're gonna play it tough. They're gonna play physical because that's exactly what Raheem Morris wants to do. Yep. So it's like the style that the San Francisco 49ers play with because that's his defense. So yeah, those exactly make that team makes a lot of sense.
D'Amico, you just said Raheem Morris. I think you meant D'Amico Ryans, but I got to go look at it.
I meant
Atlanta now.
I remember. Yeah, Raheem's in Atlanta, and D'Amico is with. Sorry, that's a Freudian slip.
No, but you're absolutely right though. Clark Phillips, AJ Terrell, and D. Alford.
Yeah, the Falcons
with
too.
Jesse Bates behind them and Helms. I mean, yeah, that's another good lineup. So, yeah, I think that's what we got. Ruthless. Ocean, nice to see you.
Right
Hope you're doing well, Miss Caroline. We are doing well. And what are some college interior guards to be on the lookout for this coming season with Trey Smith's situation? I can't remember everyone's name, but there's a guy at Washington. There's a guy at Alabama. And that's all that's coming to my head right now.
So there's a couple of guys that I've scouted. I think I know Seth McLaughlin had a really tough national championship semifinal game against Michigan at center. I think he can play guard. He moves extremely well. He's physical. He's powerful. So I think he's an option. But Miles Frazier out of LSU is the guy I've got like my eye on. Physical, big, powerful, guard only type player. He'd fit right into that Trey Smith slot. And I don't think you'd really miss a beat, to be very honest with you. You could play him at left guard or right guard, but I really do think he's the kind of player that the Chiefs would be looking for. So Miles Frazier out of LSU is the guy that I'm looking at because I just scouted him last week or 2 weeks ago.
And folks, if you haven't heard, the Draft Network has now recently added our own Dan Harmon. So if you're talking about college now, listen to him because I haven't really looked yet. I'm just going off of last year's film.
Yeah, I've got actual guys watched at this point. This is new for me.
Way ahead of the curve. That's awesome. Kathy, guys, honest thoughts on Kicking Tea. Is that a brand that I don't know about?
I think Kicking Team is the is the
Oh,
question
okay.
here.
I like the way you interpret. I'm all for having a kicking team. I don't know what the hell they're going to do, but
I haven't seen it yet, and I don't watch the UFL, so I don't know how the kickoffs look there because I genuinely don't care. I'll be very honest with you. The product is only for people that need to watch something. I don't know. It would be great if the UFL like took over as a farm team system. I personally would love it. I think that's fantastic for football. They desperately have needed one for a long time, an actual developmental route. I truly believe it. I know college is that, but sometimes you need a bridge, and that bridge isn't always college. So hopefully that takes over for that, but I have not watched a lick of it.
I hope they bring back NFL Europe. I have unfinished business over there, so I hope that they do that. Kathy, thank you for the question, though. That was great. Doug, will Mahomes have his best season ever with TDs and passing yards with his wide receiver group? I think he has a shot at it. I can't guarantee it, but I think it's within the realm of possibility.
Possibly yards, not touchdowns. He's not touching his 50, in my opinion. Maybe he gets to 40, but I don't think he's getting close to 50.
Okay. Brent, anyone notice how Young Days Ryan likes haven't worked out for one reason or another? Coburn and now Bugs. I still like Bugs, but I wasn't a Coburn guy. I was Moro Jomo, his teammate was my dude. But yeah, I get better as years go along. Oh, gotcha.
I like Coburn.
We as a show learn from our mistakes.
It's true. We try.
Thanks for bringing it up, though, Brent. Appreciate you as always. And appreciate you, Ozzy, as well. What position groups do you think that are being overrated going into training camp? I think everybody's a little bit over high on the linebackers. I think Willie's departure is going to be felt a couple of times more than anybody expects.
Yeah, no, I see that. I see that as well. I think I don't know if there's anybody that's like underrated on this team, to be completely honest with you. Maybe the safety room. Possibly, because I think that we'll go with the safety room. How about that? Because I think that Justin Reid's a legitimate safety in the NFL, like one of the top 5-6 safeties from what he offers from a versatility perspective. And I think Brian Cook was on his way to legitimately breaking out last year when he got hurt. And I think that he's going to do the same thing. Shamar Connor's going to be playing a lot of slot for you, but he's still going to be on the field as I say slot all the time. It's nickel. He's going to be playing a lot of that too. So I know that you did, but also I think that Jaden Hicks is going to play a little bit of like nickel backer at times, because I think that he's going to round out this safety room, and maybe people aren't ready for what they could be, even though the Chiefs safeties have just done very good job year after year after year of just kind of being really good and being, especially at the end of the year. So I think that they're probably a little underrated right now.
I'm with you. I like that assessment too. Ozzy has another one here. Who would you project is going to be in all-pro contention? That's a great one. I mean, the big triangle. I think Trent McDuffie gets there this year.
I mean, McDuffie was there last year. He was an all-pro corner, nickel corner. So, yeah, I think he's probably going to be again. If he plays on the outside, I think he can definitely be an all-pro there. But we know, like you said, the trio, anybody outside the trio be all-pro.
Creed could get there if his hand is fully healed.
Yes, for sure. No, Creed absolutely could be an all-pro center, and I think he will be with the retirement of excuse me, the other Kelce brother, whose whatever name escapes me for whatever reason. I even though
Jason.
Good Lord. But those are the. Now, I think that Nick Bolton might be, and I think only because number-wise, I think he might have to end up doing far more for the defense than he's had to in his first 2 seasons, and it might take him up to another realm of numbers. Which, let's be honest, a lot of these awards highlight numbers. So if he's up there in that, the tackling stuff and being just a little bit better in coverage, I think he have his name up there too.
That's fair. I can get down with that. Thank you, Ozzy. Appreciate you. Kathy, another one about the kicking game. It has you curious. Will it pretty much be the same as other than the ball placement? And I actually don't think so. I think the shortened field allows you to make a couple of changes. I think linebackers might be more important than defensive backs because you don't need that 60-yard speed. I think it definitely makes them not keep 7 wide receivers this year, but it gives you linebackers on the field. Yes, they're plenty speed. Some guys are perfectly quick, but I also think it leads to more creases. We might see more big games out of it. So I do think it's more than just ball placement.
I agree, especially because you can't just kick it out, right? It doesn't work that way anymore. It's while it's ball placement, it's also strategic. Where exactly do you want to put it? Who do you want on the field? How are you attacking? Are you going to have plays drawn up? Because you can kick it in different spots and have different ways to attack that spot, right? So there's going to be a lot more to this than I think we know. And like you said, I'm excited to see what Dave Toub does with it, because this is like, for me, I feel like it's a kid in a candy shop for him. It's something brand new that he gets to figure out. Like it's a whole thing. So I think he's going to have a lot of fun with it.
Dave's got a brand new Lego set. That's the way I see it.
There we go.
Just trying to put it together. Doug, thank you again, buddy. Appreciate the support. Is it possible for 4 tight ends and a fullback? Thoughts? I'm with you. I vote yes. I vote yes right now.
Big shock that Ryan's with you, but
Andy
Reid is not with you. Fullback is he's gone full H-back. It's going to be just the tight end playing a little bit of H-back. It's not going to be that fullback anymore.
Although I will say the other H-back, and I agree with that, but I think Carson could be an H-back / R-back because of the lack of true tailbacks on this roster.
True. That's exactly another, again, technicality. He's not a fullback, but he's not really a running back either. Right?
In my heart, he'll always be one. Oh, thanks, Doug. Appreciate you, bud. And Steve's got another one. Which NFL player would you like to have be Robin to Chris Jones' Batman? Oh, man. See, in the Chiefs mess, they passed on this. They could have done it. I feel they could have done it. He got a big contract, but I wanted to see Christian Wilkins next to Chris Jones. That's what I wanted, because I think they complement each other. And there's a lot of money going into that, but I think that would have been epic. The only other guy that I'd put over him is Jalen Carter, because I think he's just scratching the surface of what he can be. What do you got?
Jalen Carter is a really fun thing, but I'm going to go to the edge, and I'll be honest. Max Crosby with Chris Jones is not just a match made in heaven. It's exactly what would terrify anybody, because Max Crosby doesn't miss time. He's already, in my opinion, a top 3 edge defender in the NFL. And his motor is like George Karlaftis on steroids. It's ridiculous what Max Crosby is. You guys might not like him, but he is a fantastic football player.
I'm going to say it right now, and I'm actually noting the time because I'm going to clip this later. Max Crosby, if you come to Kansas City, I'll pay to remove all the tats that say Oakland on them. I promise you right now. I will take care of you. Come on over.
I love that. That's great.
Kevin Turner, thank you, buddy. Appreciate you. Anyone else worried about the injuries due to all the short weeks we have this year? Also, what percent did the teams have to play too high against us last year? They went, I believe the number was 62, if I remember correctly. Too high. I haven't looked it up in quite a while. But
sounds about
I think
right.
End of season, that was close. And I'm definitely worried about, especially that 10-day thing around Christmas. 3 games in, I think it's 10 days. That has me petrified.
It should have the entire team kind of on alert. And they were last year when they had that, I think it was 3 straight weeks of playing teams off of bye or whatnot and on short weeks. So there was something weird, funky from last year too. So they're going to be as prepared as they possibly can, but there's nothing you can really do on the short week. So yeah, it's definitely worrisome. And you kind of hope that you can limit how much you're out there taking a beating in cold weather. It's not ideal.
Yeah. Fingers crossed, man. Okay. Thank you, Kevin. Appreciate you. Could we possibly see a Spags defense with 5 safeties on the field? Only if there's a significant injury. Because Shamar's the only true safety that I think can turn and run if he had to go out and play corner.
Yeah, that's true. I agree with that. So 5 is much even for Spags. He wants 3 to 4. I think that's what he's like. Yeah, we're good here. We're good. 4 is even I think pushing it at times for him. And it gets a little dicey when you have 4 safeties on the field. So I think 3 is the sweet spot.
I'm with you, and that's why he uses it so often. Thanks, Steve. Brett, is it true about Brittany saying Mahomes plans to retire at 35? I have no idea if that was actually said. If it was, I will tell you this. He will qualify that by saying, I'll retire at 35 if I have one more championship than Tom Brady.
Also,
that's the only way.
He's like, what, 27 years old? You know how long that is? Like, he's still got he's got eight more years of playing football to say he was going to retire then. No, and he doesn't know that. Like, no one knows at this point in time if they're going to retire. Tyreek Hill said he was going to retire after this next year of football. How much you want to bet he doesn't?
No, he got mouths to feed, dude. He got to take care of business. I know he's making like, what, 30 million a year, but he got stuff to do. So I agree with you. My man Des, how you doing, buddy? Are you concerned about Henry week 1? Well, I'm more concerned about him week 1 than if they see him in, the wild card game. But you should be concerned. He can still do things. I'm more concerned about how they run Lamar off of it, because skinny Lamar now scares me more than Lamar did last year.
That's the thing. It's the combination of skinny Lamar Jackson with Derrick Henry. I'm not so much worried about Derrick Henry in terms of blowing you up. Spags does not care about stopping the run straight up anyway. In week 1, he's really not going to care. So, no, that doesn't worry me. What worries me is the problem of Lamar Jackson now that he's ready to go back to being super quick Lamar Jackson.
Yeah. Seriously, if I'm a defender on this team, that makes me nervous. I'm just like, I'll pass. Thanks. Thank you, Des. Appreciate the support as always, buddy. Handeman, hope you're doing good. How do you see our run defense taking a step up, especially with the many he was out? Will Chanel be used more in that regard, and also look up? I don't even know what that is. Automaton covers? Don't ask. You'll thank me later. Okay, brother. I will do that. I'm screen sharing. I'm screen clipping that stuff right now. If the SEC comes after me, I'm going to find you.
Yeah, right.
I mean, Chanel will be a starter. He will be the Sam, and I do think it gives you some unique opportunities to pass rush him more. Will he be able to really take it up that much of a notch from out there? He was excellent as a middle backer. He's not going to be in that role. So I hope, but I can't say that I'm banking on it.
It's unfortunate because I would love to see him more as like just a stand down defensive end. But since they don't have Willie Gay anymore, he's going to be asked to do more from a linebacker perspective, just in general. Like that's just what happens. You're going to have more on the plate for him. So unfortunately, no. I would like to see it myself, but no, it's not going to happen.
Okay. I'm with you. Elks Pride, hope you're doing well. Thank you, buddy. Appreciate the 1587. I hope that's not a historical reference because I don't get it. Not my thing.
It's Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce.
Son of a motherless. Yep, you're right. Okay. Here, you read it then. I'm just not hitting on all cylinders, clearly.
All right. Thank you. Appreciate it, Alex Pride. I love that thing you did there. How is it that ownership hasn't broken the bank over the left tackle position by now? Don't you spend Tyreek's money to do all you can to ensure Patrick's health? I appreciate you guys' work year round. Well, let me answer the question with a question. If you were in the Chiefs position and you watched them win back-to-back Super Bowls with Orlando Brown Jr. at left tackle and then a combination of Donovan Smith and Wanya Morris at left tackle, you think they care about breaking the bank at left tackle? Because I don't think they do. I think that they're pretty okay kind of messing around and hoping to hit in the draft. But I do think, again, based off of what I think Kingsley Suamataia was coming out, I think he could be Eric Fisher a little bit plus. I think that's what you're looking for, and I think that's what he could definitely be. So
well, and I'll just put out the reminder too. They did try to go all in. when they ended up with Orlando. They were trying to get Trent Williams.
That's true.
They tried to give him as much money as they possibly could. They couldn't get it done. So I think, honestly, that kind of soured them, because ever since then it's been, okay, we can use veteran. We'll rely on experience, and we'll try to bring somebody along. We'll take second round shots on tackles until we find one.
And also, they wanted to spend all that money on one player, but now they've got these contracts coming up, right? Like, they have some other things that they want to be able to do now. If they had Trent Williams, do you think that this team looks the same? I don't know if you can assume that they win. I'm not going to say they won't win the Super Bowl because Trent Williams changes things, but it changes the dynamic of the team itself and the money fluctuations that they currently have.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. It means you probably didn't get an extension for Trav. I don't think that ends up making a whole lot of difference, but you probably didn't extend Tooney next to him, and that changes things, in my opinion. The thing with Chris might have been a lot more drawn out than it was without having that huge dollar sign at left tackle. So I definitely think it would have changed things. But great question, Elks. Appreciate you, and sorry I didn't get the whole reference there. I'm a bad Chiefs fan. We're going to wrap it up here with Brett. We need a hybrid receiver, well-rounded in all aspects. Any thoughts? Do you agree with that?
I don't know personally, because Andy Reid has not really been a guy who cares about having that one all-around player. He likes to have guys that have certain set of skills. You know, Deshaun Jackson, Jeremy Maclin fit well together, like their play styles. Honestly, Hollywood Brown and Xavier Worthy kind of feel like Deshaun Jackson and Jeremy Maclin light. I'll be honest with you. They kind of do.
I won't argue with you. And, you know, if Rasheed can figure his stuff out and get that maturity level back, he physically and mentally made progress on the field. So I think that there's room there to grow that. And those three can be a top 10 trio in this league, if not better. So I do agree with that.
I agree.
Yeah. Lot there. And of course, Doug had to squeeze one in because he's great at it. Thank you, Doug. And thanks for the support. Dan, what jersey will you get if they make the team?
All right. So I think we have to stick with the wide receiver stuff. And if Nico Remigio makes the roster, I will absolutely buy a Nico Remigio jersey. 100%.
Wow. That's
Absolutely
awesome. That is awesome. I'm going to hold.
And then I'll make sure to get an interview with him, by the way. I'll try to my hardest, if he makes the team, to absolutely get an interview with him and talk about this.
Ding, ding, ding. Mine will be Steele or Love It.
The Steele's the second one I was going for.
Oh, yeah? You guys know I don't buy jerseys either, so. But I will make it happen for you. So cheers.
You know, Dr. Ozzy, it's not my fault, okay? I haven't abandoned him. The Chiefs have abandoned him, okay? They've pretty much gotten rid of any hope that I had of him making the roster by continuing to bring guys in. So I still think he's like a Byron Pringle type player, but the reason Byron Pringle was on the team is because everybody else wasn't really available. So now that they have a filled out wide receiver room, they got no more need for the Byron Pringles of the world.
I do appreciate that someone still loves Cornell, though, and I'm sure he does too, Dan. You're in his corner.
I hope so. I'll always be in his corner. Those 6 games in college he had with Clemson, you can't take those away. You can't.
Yeah, maybe Trevor can tip him out a little bit since he just got. And evidently, my time's coming to a close, folks. Thank you all for being here. And you got anything fun planned this week?
I don't know. Ryan's just like all over the place. There he goes. He's gone. Is he back? Maybe yes. No,
probably
maybe
not.
Okay. Well, no, not that I know of. It's going to be hot. My daughter's got a couple of T-ball games. I got guys to scout. So yeah, it's going to be fun.
Just Miss Avery, if you see this letter, swing away, baby. Swing away. All is well. All right. You have a great day, Dan. Folks, Wednesday is the film review, and we'll have stuff for you tomorrow as well as the rest of the week. As always, enjoy your summer heat. And when you're not in it, come watch us. So thanks for being here. We'll see you tomorrow.